Every few years, the music industry invents a new term: slacker rock, bedroom pop, DIY rock. But one guy was doing all of these things 40 years ago, and his name was Martin Newell. And there's a good chance your favorite DIY artists consider him their favorite DIY artist. But the strange thing is, most people have never heard of him. But if you've ever admired the home-recorded worlds of Ariel Pink, Mac DeMarco, Guided by Voices, or countless bedroom pop artists that followed, you've probably heard echoes of ideas that Martin Newell was exploring decades earlier. This is the story of how one musician accidentally helped write the blueprint for modern DIY music. Today, independent artists can upload music to streaming platforms in minutes. They can build audiences on YouTube, post content on TikTok, sell directly through Bandcamp. In many ways, being DIY has never been easier. But in the early 1980s, DIY meant something very different. There was no internet, no social media, no streaming platforms, no real direct-to-fan infrastructure in place. You wanted people to hear your music, there were gatekeepers everywhere. And that's what makes Martin Newell so interesting, because long before bedroom pop, long before Bandcamp, long before anyone was talking about DIY culture, he was already figuring out how to operate outside the traditional system. His tools weren't apps or platforms, they were a tape recorder, a typewriter, a photocopier, and a mailbox. That's basically it. Today, DIY is often a choice. For Martin Newell, it was the only option. Before recording became democratized, there was really only one path to find success in the music industry: get discovered, get signed, make a record, and hope the label promotes it. The entire music industry was built around that model. And for a while, Martin pursued it too. But over time, he became increasingly skeptical that the traditional system was actually helping him make the kind of music he wanted to make. So instead of waiting for permission, he decided to build his own version of the industry. After forming Cleaners from Venus in 1980, he began recording albums at home on multi-track cassette recorders like the Tascam Portastudio. He duplicated the tapes himself, and fans discovered the music through fanzines, cassette trading networks, pirate radio stations, and small music publications. People would literally mail order his records directly from him. Today, direct-to-fan distribution is normal, but back then it was practically unheard of. If the system wasn't helping him, you'd simply go around it. And looking back, that mindset feels incredibly modern. What makes Martin's story especially fascinating isn't just the fact that he recorded at home. It's how he approached recording in general. Because he wasn't trying to create a professional studio, wasn't obsessing over perfection or waiting for better gear. He was focused on finishing songs. And that's why Cleaners from Venus became so prolific. Martin's real superpower was his output. He understood something that many musicians still struggle with today. Finished songs beat unfinished masterpieces every single time. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, so Martin was recording at home. He was releasing his own tapes. He was working outside the industry. But lots of people have done those things. So why are people still talking about these records 40 years later? When people first hear Cleaners from Venus, they often notice the imperfections: the tape hiss, the distortion, the uneven balances, the occasional recording quirks. The fact that these records clearly weren't made in a first-class studio. But those aren't the main reason people listen to them. People come back to the music because the songs are good. The melodies stick, the lyrics feel personal, the arrangements are deceptively sophisticated, and maybe most importantly, the recordings feel human. You can hear a person making decisions. You can hear the room. You can hear the limitations. And somehow those things pull you closer to the music. Martin understood something that many musicians still forget. People fall in love with songs, not production quality. The technology may have aged, but the songs didn't. And that's what makes Martin Newell such a fascinating figure, because even though most people have never heard of him, his fingerprints are all over modern independent music. Long before bedroom pop became a genre, long before artists proudly called themselves DIY, long before recording in your bedroom became completely normal, Martin was already living in that reality. You can see pieces of that philosophy appearing everywhere. Artists began embracing home recording imperfections instead of hiding them. Independent musicians musicians started building audiences outside traditional gatekeepers. Songwriting and personality became more important than pristine production. The specifics changed, the technology changed, but the mindset remained remarkably similar. Make music where you are, use whatever you have, finish the song, and get it into people's hands. Martin Newell didn't predict modern indie music, he quietly helped invent part of its blueprint. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I've become interested in home recording on machines like the Tascam 244. Today we have access to recording technology that Martin could only have dreamed about in the 1980s. He's still alive today, by the way. We have unlimited tracks, unlimited edits, and more plugins than any of us could ever try in our lifetime. But there's a trade-off with all of that. With every additional option that becomes available, making decisions also becomes harder. You can spend hours tweaking a snare drum, days rearranging a song, weeks deciding whether something is actually finished. Cassette multi-trackers really don't allow that. Eventually, you have to make a decision and move forward. And that's exactly what Martin was doing. Not because it was trendy or nostalgic, because it was the tool he had. Martin wasn't chasing fidelity, he was chasing momentum. And 40 years later, that might be the most valuable lesson in his entire catalog.